Did you see my face? I'm like, what happened? Very cool. Well, we are live on YouTube. This is our Security Plus study session. I am super excited to get this one started. We have Rob here with us. Rob, introduce yourself.
Hey gang, this is Rob from itmasterkey.com, and today we're going to be talking about Security Plus. So this is usually the first cybersecurity certification that students get. I've taught Security Plus a million times. Antoinette has as well. At the end of this lecture, at the end of this test prep, we're going to talk about how me and Antoinette can help you guys get Security Plus certified by joining a course.
Awesome. And we are here on the IMIT YouTube channel. Please do not hesitate to make sure you head over to Master IT's YouTube channel, as well as our Instagrams, Facebooks, and LinkedIn, whatever works best for you to connect with us. With that, let's get started talking about what you need to do to achieve your Security Plus.
Okay, gang, so if you've taken a CompTIA test before, you're familiar with their point system. So most CompTIA exams are on a scale out of 900, right? So 900 is the top of the top, the best of the best. So to get your certification, you have to get 750 out of 900. So one thing that comes up is students, may get bummed out if they get a 750 or 751. Understand a pass is a pass. Your passing score is not on your certificate. They just say that you're certified. Nobody will know what you got unless you tell them your secret. All right, so we got multiple choice questions and we got performance-based questions. So the performance-based stuff is like simulations, right? So it's like CompTIA's way of doing hands-on, and those questions are usually at the beginning of the exam. So you get these simulation-based questions. You get these questions that are applicable to real-life situations, and then you knock them out, right? On the actual exam, you get a maximum of 90 questions, and you get 90 minutes to complete the test. So in a nutshell, 750 is what you need to pass. You got 90 minutes to knock it out.
All right, so let's talk about what is actually on this test. What are you going to be seeing as far as the objectives or different topics that you want to master before heading into the exam room? So as you see, we've got a breakdown of the exam here on screen, and we've got 6 different focus areas or objectives. First being the threats, attacks, and vulnerabilities, and that's just over 20% of your test. So that's really knowing the different types of threats and attacks, and then we head into the technology of tools of how to actually combat them, how to even notice that they're happening in the first place. Be aware that this is where a lot of acronyms are going to drop in. So again, that's about another 20% of the test. Architecture and design. So this is really where you see a lot of network stuff coming in from the Net Plus if you took that class, because if you know the design of your network, then you're going to have a better foundation of how to protect it. So that's when you really see Net Plus and Security Plus having a little bit of overlap of the assumed knowledge. That's about 15% of your test. And then we jump into identity and access management, which is 16%, meaning who can get on the network and what parts of the network and what data they can actually access. Managing that risk is about 15% of your exam. And the last and smallest objective is the actual cryptography and PKI, some of the tools that you're going to be using and how security even works with data in the 3 states, whether it's at rest, it's at transit, or it's actually like being created. So being stored, being sent, or being modified or created. All right, let's jump into our first question.
All right, everybody. So these questions that we're going to go through is to get you in a right mind frame, the way you need to think, and kind of get you to see what the questions may be like on the exam. So first question, are these the questions that's going to be on the exam? Hell no. No, not at all. But good news is these are the questions and the objectives, right? And the type of questions you're going to see. So it's going to get you ready for the actual test. So first up, which of the following attacks is defined as intercepting and modifying data sent between 2 network devices? Out of those options down there, what do we think the answer is? As always, gang, you're going to have acronyms, things that you need to pay attention to. So there's an acronym right there, and that acronym pretty much will tell you what the answer is. So the answer that we're looking for is C. So a man in the middle attack, right? So MITM stands for man in the middle. So it's a piece of software or device in the middle of two people that are sending data back and forth, and it can intercept that information, and it can modify it and still send it to the recipient, and the recipient will think that it's from the original sender, so on and so forth. So man in the middle is a type of attack that intercepts traffic and modifies it as it sees fit.
All right, next question. Web forms that lack input validation on the entry fields themselves are vulnerable to what type of attack? So if you're putting data into a web form and submitting it online, and it just takes anything and there's no validation, what could happen here? So for those of you thinking about what the heck is input validation, this is where if you put in a zip code, it'll only take numbers instead of letters. Or if it's looking for a phone number or a date of birth, it's not going to accept any characters that are not numerical because they don't belong in that field, meaning it's validated. Another example of that is if you're putting in a phone number and it has 10 characters, it won't accept 9 characters or 8. It's not going to accept 11 or 12 or 20. It's only going to accept the number of characters and the type of characters that actually belong there. All right, so if you have a web form that does not have that kind of protection built in, what is it susceptible to? What vulnerability could it get hit with? And that is a SQL injection attack, meaning that you could actually put in a string of code, which includes some type of malicious action on the other side of it, and the form would take it. And then at some point when that code is triggered, poof, the whole database can do a lot of things. It can be stolen, it can be deleted, it can be modified, whatever that SQL injection attack told it to do. All right, so make sure you're using validation on your web forms. Next question.
A type of attack aimed at exploiting vulnerabilities that is present in already released software but known to the software developer is called what? What is that called? So some software that's already out, and the only people that know it's something wrong with it, it has flaws, has some security issues, are the developers. What type of attack is that? Bam. So hopefully you guys said 0-day attack, or a 0-day attack, meaning that as soon as it comes off the assembly line, as soon as it's released to the public, or even before it's released to the public, it has certain vulnerabilities that can be exploited as soon as it's known to other people. All right, Antoinette, you next up.
All right, if you are redirecting, a domain name to a fake IP address, what kind of exploit is this an example of? So if you are going to a certain place on the internet and you are landing somewhere completely different and it's going to a fake IP address, what type of exploit or attack from the list there is happening? All right, a little bit of stacked knowledge here from NetPlus as well. You got to be comfortable with what is an IP address, a couple of the acronyms that you see there and the answer options. And if you're strong in your acronyms and you went through NetPlus, this should be a super easy question. If not, I can definitely see where there could be some bouncing back and forth here. So the correct answer is A. For those of you who said B, I really do understand where your brain went. You've got a URL, you're on the internet, I understand. But that's not the situation being described, because we're going to be forwarding or redirecting a domain name to a fake IP address, meaning that we are looking at a DNS poisoning, because that's what DNS does for us, right? The domain name system is going to resolve that IP address to a domain name back and forth. And if that database is poisoned, then we're going to be going to the wrong place based on the IP address after putting in the domain name. All right, let's jump to the next one.
All right, what configuration change will hide the name of the wireless network and require users who want to connect to the network to know the wireless name? So out of those options, how could you make that happen? So again, just so you know, the name of any wireless network, right? The name is referred to as the SSID, right? So the SSID is the name of the network. So if you disable the SSID, AKA stop broadcasting the SSID or the name, then no one would be able to know what the name of the network is unless they were previously connected to the network and knew what the name was, all right? So the SSID being blocked or not broadcast, it doesn't mean that the network doesn't exist anymore, that it's not there anymore. It just means that you have to know the name of the network to connect to the network. Antoinette, you next up.
All right, which network penetration attack model allows an attacker to have the lowest level of transparency? So what I'm asking here is which of the following is going to give an attacker really the smallest amount of knowledge of their target? How do you feel about it? Notice that you do have one of those keywords here in the question, and it is the lowest. It's the lowest level of transparency. You'll definitely come across questions in CompTIA exams that will ask for the most or the least, the first or the very last. So pay attention to those keywords. They'll clue you in for sure. All right, so the lowest level of transparency is going to be a black box attack model, meaning that they don't have any data on their attacker until they go out and start foraging for the data or creating the data and researching it. The opposite of that would be a white box penetration level or amount of knowledge, meaning that when somebody hires an ethical pen tester or does a vulnerability analysis, they're going to say, here's all the information of my network. How many users, maybe what the IP address pools are, domains that they use, and where their servers are located virtually, meaning what the IP addresses for certain devices are. So if I give all that information out to an attacker and say, hey, we go find the holes in my network so I can strengthen them, then that's white box. But black box testing, when I'm like, hey, I'm not going to give you any information about the target. I just need you to go figure out how to get in and how to manipulate their network. All right, let's go to the next one.
All right, a system intended to mimic likely targets used to detect attacks or deflect them from a legitimate target, also used to gain information about how cyber criminals operate. Which of the following is described above? All right, gang, you see in the answers, there are some acronyms, right? So we always harp on knowing what acronyms are, what they stand for, but just because something is an acronym or just because you see acronyms, that does not mean that that's what the answer is, right? So knowing what the acronyms stand for can help you decipher what's the right answer, what's the wrong answer. So if we wanted to catch a cyber criminal, if we wanted to set up a fake network or a different network to distract criminals or to attract criminals, we would set up a honeypot. All right, so a honeypot is a type of network that attracts attackers and bad people. And the reason for that is just to see, okay, how are these guys getting to our network, or how would these guys get into our network? All right, so a honeypot is pretty much a trap.
All right, which strategy is in use if a company is not implementing a countermeasure while realizing the potential risk? Lots of big words there, but very simple question. Which one of those risk strategies is really just, we can't do anything about that? There are a couple different mitigation strategies and assessment strategies, and I'll say acceptance and transference because those are down there as well. but there's only one that means that we're just going to deal with the consequences of this. There's not a lot we can do. And that means that you've actually accepted the risk. It's risk acceptance, if I can get that word out of my mouth. So if you have insurance on parts of your business, or you have gone out to a third party to make sure that you strengthen your different network or security, that's awesome. But at some point, if you come across something and say, there's really just nothing that we can put in place to protect ourselves against this type of risk, then you accept that risk and you can try and get around it or avoid it. But you know that that's a potential issue and there's nothing you can do about it. So you've accepted it. Next question.
All right. All right, gang, if you're enjoying this video, if you like what we're doing, even if you're watching a replay and you didn't get a chance to catch us live, make sure that you like this video, you share this video, and that you subscribe to Antoinette's YouTube channel if you're enjoying what we're doing right now. All right, so a recent security review showed that it was possible to ping several of these web servers. What protocol should be disabled using a firewall to ensure pings do not successfully contact the servers? So what do you need to disable so pings cannot contact the server? So what does the ping command do? It checks to see if you have connectivity, right? It checks to see if packets are getting to a certain destination. So how or what will we actually have to disable to stop that? We will stop ICMP. So ping is a command that checks connectivity. How does it do that? By sending ICMP packets to devices.
All right, we are doing great. Thank you for the shout out. Definitely subscribe. We've got A+, Net+, and Security Plus practice exams on the channel. So check them out and then go over and head over to Rob's YouTube as well. Subscribe over there. He has got some amazing information for test prep. All right, plain text data is converted to an unreadable format that cannot be converted backwards into its original format. So which of the following is being described? Going from plain text to a completely unreadable format, and you cannot go in reverse. All right, this is where that first objective really comes into play, knowing the different types of attacks, and of course the last objective with the different types of cryptography and PKI. This right here is a hashing algorithm or encryption standard, meaning that is unidirectional. You can only go one way with the hash. You cannot decode it with the opposite of the algorithm. So really cool type of encryption. There are different levels of hashing, but this means that it cannot be reversed. Next question.
All right, your team is creating a new network segment that allows unauthenticated Wi-Fi users access to the internet without allowing access to any internal systems. What type of network is this? What type of network would you be setting up? So your team is creating a new network segment that allows unauthenticated Wi-Fi users access to the internet without allowing access to any internal systems. What type of network is this? So unauthenticated, real quick, just means you have to put anything in, right? You have to put a password, PIN, nothing extra. You can just hop on the network whenever you want to. What type of network would that describe? What do we think? So hopefully you guys said a guest network. So understand, some of you guys might have been thinking intranet, but an intranet is an internal network, right? But usually even though it's an internal network, you still have to authenticate. You got to put a PIN, a password, or something like that, okay?
All right, so that is going to wrap up our live session for Q&A, or excuse me, for the practice questions. If you have any questions yourself about how to be successful in the exam room, if you are ready to sign up for a formal class, or you're just looking for some guidance, feel free to drop a comment on this video and we'll get back to you either right now if it comes in early enough, or in the comments in the chat once we have processed the video and put it out there. With that, though, we've got some special stuff coming up. Rob,